What's going on, everybody? Welcome to West Warwick, Rhode Island, just outside of Providence, Rhode Island. It's a location I've been wanting to come to for quite a long time. It's surreal that I'm here, and this is a very solemn, somber place. I'm going to tell you what happened here. I'm going to do it as we go through the Memorial Park here. With hopefully less talking. I tend to talk a lot, but hopefully less talking, because this is a sacred spot. And there is somebody in their car just over to my left. And I'm not sure if they're here somebody they love lost their lives here, and that could be the case, so I want to be respectful of them, but most I want to be respectful of all the people that lost their lives here and the family members that still grieve today. I will put a link below. I believe there is a Station Fire Memorial Fund. I believe it's on Facebook. In the link in my description below, if you want to make a donation, it helps keep this park manicured, groomed, and looked after. Let's walk in now, and I'm going to tell you what happened here on this spot. So the sign right here reads, and the gentleman was very nice. He was right here in his car. He just drove away. And we just gave a couple of nods and a smile. Welcome to the Station Fire Memorial Park, a place to remember and commemorate the 100 angels who perished in the Station Nightclub tragedy, February 20th, 2003. Here we also honor the strength of the survivors, responders, and loved ones forever changed that night. We are grateful for the generosity of our donors and those who volunteered their time, services, and endless support to make this park a beautiful, lasting, and meaningful reality. The Station Fire Memorial Foundation. And on the other side, it has the same plaque. And we're going to go in now. In memory of those who lost their lives. Right here, the names. We're going to come back to that in a moment. I want to see what this is over here. Not sure what this is. I'm not sure what this is. Was dedicated from a high school. It's a sculpture in honor of the 100 angels. Okay, I see. It's beautiful. And just off to my left, I see somebody says, "I love you, Tracy. Thank you for carrying me when I couldn't walk and for helping me remember that even a grain of sand can be transformed into a pearl." Donated by Jody and Liana King. So a band called Great White from the 80s. They were playing a venue called the Station Nightclub, which stood on this spot. And they were billed that night as Jack Russell's Great White because it wasn't the full band. But actually on the sign outside, I believe the station nightclub actually just billed them as Great White for the show. Now, they had pyrotechnics behind them, and right into the first song, as the first song started, the pyrotechnics, gerbs I believe they're called, tiny fireworks, about 4 of them, were lit off behind the band. And well, the foam insulation, which wasn't the proper foam insulation you're supposed to have, caught on fire, and the building soon became engulfed in flames. The band didn't notice, but the people did that were watching. I believe Jack Russell, when he did finally figure it out, said something along the lines of, well, that's not good. But I don't think he realized the severity of it. People began rushing for the exits. Now, when I say the exits, there's one main exit. It would be this way. The entrance that most people came in. And there are 3 other exits. Not enough. Not enough. 404 people capacity was what the venue was legally allowed to have. They were over by a fair amount. There was about 460 people for the show. And a lot of people were trying to get out the sides where the band would get out. They were denied. Wow. Whole family. .45. I see what they are. I didn't notice that before. They're all like that, like records. So, essentially near the front entrance was where most people perished. The fire spread so quick. I think it was 11:07 when the fire started. By 11:16, firefighters were here, but there was hardly anything they could do. Thick black smoke everywhere. People couldn't see. There were no sprinkler systems. The gentleman who lit off the pyrotechnics was not an official pyrotechnician. He was the band's manager, I believe, tour manager. There were a lot of mistakes made, lack of exits, overcapacity. Pyrotechnics, the band said that they were allowed. The venue owners, the 2 brothers who owned the place, said that they had no idea about the pyrotechnics. No sprinkler system. And that foam, that flammable foam. Because the neighbors, and I'm not saying because the neighbors, it's the neighbors' fault, I'm not saying the neighbors had complained about the noise. So they tried to think of different ways to, the noise from a club, a rock club. And one of the houses behind suggested foam. And they did not buy the proper type of foam. And when the fire inspector came, he didn't inspect the foam. This is before, obviously. He did not inspect the foam. I read something, he was concerned about a door that was open the wrong way, so that he had asked him to fix before, so that had annoyed him, so he not checked the foam after that, or didn't notice. Again, I'm just reporting what I've read. I'm not placing blame on anyone specifically, but apparently if he had just held a lighter or a match to the foam, he would have known right away that it wasn't safe. So that soundproof foam went up quickly. I'm going to show you a diagram sort of to give you an idea of where most of the people passed away. We are standing, like I said, on sacred ground, and I do not take that lightly where I am and what happened here, and it's horrific to think of, and it's so sad. It was a huge story when it happened, and I'm sure it's not forgotten by the residents of the town, and of course, by the families and friends of all the victims, and then the first responders. A lot of people suffer PTSD. Across the street there's a restaurant or an inn, and I believe that was used as like a setup, like a command center and a burn triage across the street. But 96 people lost their lives on these grounds, and 4 others lost their lives later in hospital. And I wish I had time to read all of these. There's so many names in these bricks. The people were out for a concert. They were out to have fun. And there has to be blame, and there should be, for what happened. And something like this, when you have a small venue where you're having concerts, whether or not you even have pyrotechnics going off, should be exits all the way alongside. Emergency exits all the way along the side of a venue. If anything happens inside of a building. Now, the reason there were no sprinklers, because most buildings over 100 capacity will have sprinklers, but this was a grandfather clause. It was an older building. It had been around, so they didn't have to. That clause has been changed now, and there's plenty of reasons why they did. Also, because they had the grandfather clause thing. What am I trying to say? They had made adjustments. They made adjustments to the building. They had renovated it. Ownership had changed somewhat, so really the grandfather clause shouldn't have been in effect. But now anything over 100, if there were sprinklers, it would have helped tremendously. But you can pretty much say it was the lack of a proper pyrotechnician, lack of emergency exits, lack of a sprinkler system, the foam on the walls, the insulation. So many mistakes, and then so many lives. You're out for how many of us go to concerts? We all do. Something like this happens. Now I'm just looking around. I'm not sure exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait. So some have 9. Some have 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. And each have a picture. And they all say remember underneath. And that's what we're here for, to remember all these beautiful people who lost their lives here. Stephen, Dale, Keith, Tracy, Derek, Lisa, Ty, Michael, John. I believe Ty was playing with the band. He was the guitarist. He was not an original member of Great White, but he was playing with the band. Some people have left some pics for him there. Let's go up here and see what this is here. Okay. Well, I can read this to you. 28 years before, Triton Realty purchased this site, and it was a Italian restaurant. In 1999, Fire Marshal set the capacity at 258 persons with tables and at 317 without tables. "47 minutes before last minute tickets, having run out of printed tickets for the show an hour earlier, the club offers latecomers Gina Russo and her fiancé a slip of notepaper to serve as their tickets. The flame, 20 seconds after, fire is spotted. The flame is now 2 feet tall and has been noticed by patrons closest to the stage. Some believe the fire is part of the show." This part got to me when I read this. I couldn't believe it. "The narrow 36-inch passage leading to the club's front exit is clogged by people who trip and fall in their frantic rush to escape. People attempt to push or crawl their way closer to the exit before being overcome with smoke. 58 victims will die in the main entry." 58. I misspoke. "Some less than a foot from the door." 10 minutes after, West Warwick police receive a 911 call from a female trapped inside the club. It is thought the call came from Bridget Sinetti, who was with Katie O'Donnell in the ladies' room when the fire broke out. Neither of these ladies survived. And Bridget's cell phone, was recovered from the wreckage, and the last number dialed was 911. Club owner tells the police that Great White did not have permission for fireworks in the nightclub. There's an inspection blitz of all places of assembly, theaters, restaurants, churches, in all 39 cities and towns in the state. 3 weeks after, 30 survivors remain confined to 4 hospitals, with 12 listed in critical condition. For the first time in its 40-year history, Shriners Hospital for Children in Boston cares for adult victims. The grand jury, this is 9 months after, returns manslaughter indictments against the Dudarians and Daniel Bichel. And Dudarians are the owners, and Daniel was the tour manager who lit off the pyrotechnics. To the outrage of many, Fire Marshal LaRocque is not named in the indictment. The Dudarians agree to a deal under which Michael would be sentenced to 4 years in prison and Jeffrey to 3 years probation and 500 hours of community service. 18 days later, the Dudarians each pled no contest to 100 counts of involuntary manslaughter. Property owner donated the land, Raymond Villanova. So here, Jack Russ saying, "Wow, that's not good." Oxygen levels in the club, 90 seconds after, oxygen levels in the club had fallen from 21% to only 2%. "23 minutes after, the West Warwick Police Department contacts the Rhode Island Medical Examiner's Office to advise that a mass casualty incident is underway. All victims were identified. In over one third of the cases, identification is established from a distinctive tattoo. 1 year after, more than 1,000 people attended a memorial service. 10 weeks after, the 100th victim passed away. She died in the hospital. 230 people were injured. 41 children under the age of 18 have lost one or both parents in the fire. So there's the Triage Center, the Cowesett Inn across the street. That's what I was talking about. Temperatures near the ceiling of the dance floor are now covered at 1,830 degrees Fahrenheit. Heat extreme enough to cause hair and clothing to burst into flames. just reading about the police officer he was inside. Oh, sorry, he's standing just inside the exit, and he radioed when all the people started exiting the building. He was on the hood of a parked car, and he radioed headquarters to say stampede. 5 minutes after the fire arrived. It's a lot of heroes that night. Some bouncers helped people escape through a broken window, and both those bouncers lost their lives. Tracy Zing and Steve Mancini. A lot of pagers were outside, were pulling people through broken windows. This is February. This is Rhode Island. It's cold. People were throwing themselves into the snow. I read about this gentleman, Mike Vargas. He was trapped under a 5-foot pile of bodies just inside the front entrance, and firefighters were pulling people off, and he could hear their walkie-talkies and getting closer. He could hear the firefighters saying, "This one's not alive. This person's not alive." And then he grabbed the boot of a firefighter. He was underneath all these people, and he was pulled out, and he walked away with mild burns. 12 hours after the last body was recovered. A chaplain blessed each deceased person before they were placed in a body bag or on a stretcher. And the band manager, I know he went to prison. He wrote individual letters to the families of each of the 100 victims. I know he's out. Guilty, 100 counts of involuntary manslaughter. He was the only one to enter a guilty plea, it says here. And he served 4 years. And I read his whole letter and what he wrote afterwards, and definitely filled with grief, as you can imagine. So that's what happened here, and I wasn't expecting all the timeline and all of that here. That's interesting to have here for people to come and see, and if they don't know the full story, you don't see that a lot of memorials. Let's take a walk around. Before we take a walk around, I want to say something, because concert goer Joe Christina snaps the last recovered photo from inside the nightclub. It depicts Jeff Rader standing in front of the stage, a drink and cigarette still in his hand. Behind him, the west wall of the club is fully engulfed in flame. After exiting the building, Rader returns to search for his girlfriend, Becky Shaw. Both perish in the fire. I'm gonna look for that photo. There is a video that circulates. I hope it's gone. It's on YouTube, because there was a videographer here that night, and apparently he was hired by the owner because there was a previous fire, I believe it's written here, in Chicago not too long before, 3 days before the Chicago Stampede, because there was a fire 3 days before. So he had hired a videographer to take shots of the band, the crowd, but also of the exits and that sort of thing, and it seems to be kind of to say our club is safe. I think that's why. But regardless, so there was a person videotaping when Great White took the stage and recording, and you see it all happen, and you can see the flames, the band stopping, people panicking. That video, I've seen bits of it. I will never watch it again. I don't recommend that you do. It's people panicking in this last moment of their lives. This is gotta be 10 years ago I saw it, and it still sticks with me. And I think it's probably down on YouTube. I hope so. I'm not going to look. It's not something that needs to be seen. It's horrific. But that picture, I might try to find. I'm looking at the names again. Jeff Rader, and Becky Shaw. Let's walk around now. It's a very loud thoroughfare, that street there. Hear the names to everyone who lost their lives. 100 names. Looking at people of all ages, 18, 42, 33. Mostly people in their 30s. So you're looking at people that would have been fans of Great White in the 80s when they were at their peak. A lot of 30-year-olds. 30, you're out of your 20s, but you're still a kid. You're still young. You're still young at 30. Your whole life ahead of you. In memory of those who lost their lives in the Station Nightclub, February 20th, 2003. Well, I probably ended up talking more than I thought I would. But I wanted to get the story across, and like I said, I'm going to put a link below to a Facebook page where there is a fund, and remember the victims and all their family and friends they left behind. Thanks for watching, everybody. I love you all, and rest in peace to everyone. All 100 victims, 100. Rest in peace. Peace out.